Welcome back to the EAHC Podcast. This is episode number 27. Once again, it's me, Josh, and today, joined by a very prestigious guest, two-time England captain at the European Team Championships, current GBHL champion, and from his own recollection, he's never lost a game at international SBG level. It's Mr. Will Champion.
Hey, hello.
How you doing, mate? You all right?
Yeah, very good, thank you. On a lovely Easter morning.
I know, yeah. Will said to me, can we do this early? And I was like, how early are we talking on a Sunday? And it was early. It's currently 8:35, which is fine. I've got a coffee. I've got a isotonic sports drink. We'll be fine. So, I had Ali on last week. That episode actually went up. Well, when you hear this, it might not have been yesterday, but for me, it went up yesterday. And it was, in my opinion, one of our best episodes. He offered some really good insight into using dwarfs in Middle-earth, which are... apart from Iron Hills, probably slightly less popular, but Ali really did go into some good depth. So please check that one out before listening to this one. But I reached out to Will. I've known Will for quite a long time, probably at least 5 years now, I think. Maybe not as I've known of Will, should I say, for at least 5 years now. And I asked him if he would like to come on and talk about a specific list. And Will said, I'd love to come on, but I don't play a specific list. That's me being a little bit out the loop in terms of the Great British Hobbit League at a competitive level. So Will's suggestion, and I actually thought it was a really good suggestion, is we're going to talk about lists that you guys have submitted. Will's going to offer some good advice, and I'm just going to chime in with some, hopefully, some comedic support, which is kind of my role on the podcast anyway. But Will did have a couple of parameters, which I thought were really good. If you just want to talk about those, Will?
Yeah, absolutely. When people ask for list advice, it's often quite open-ended. So I've kind of just tried to put things into a box a little bit just to keep us on track. So the sort of parameters I'll be working with everybody's lists is the scenarios that you're building a list for are random from the pool, like it would be at, most tournaments, so like a maelstrom, an objective, blah blah blah. The second parameter is that all models are available. If they're in the source books, we're assuming that if you really wanted to, you could get your hands on them, because quite a lot, as we were just saying before we started recording, someone will send you a list asking for some advice, and you say, oh well, you could really do with this model because he can do this, that and the other, and their response is, oh yeah, but I don't own him, or I don't want to buy him, and then obviously the advice falls apart. And then the third parameter is that you actually want to win, because everybody loves fluffy lists, but you either know how to build a fluffy list or you don't. You don't need my advice on making something cool and thematic.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of from a competitive standpoint, this is, and some of the lists are still quite fluffy because most single faction lists are considered fluffy nowadays anyway. But
yeah, absolutely.
It's a competitive edge is what we're looking at. So again, thanks for the response on the post on the Great British Hobbit League Facebook page. We do have 66 comments, so we're going to fly through some of these. As Will said, some of them probably will take a little bit less time, and some of them might take a little bit more time. But the first comment, is from Leon Curie, and he has asked, I don't really have a certain list at the moment, as there are obviously no upcoming events. But I'd love to hear some advice on how to build and play a Hunter Orc list in general, especially which heroes you take in which order and how you win games against lots of shooting and or terror, if that's possible. And as someone has added to that, and he'd like to focus on the Dogel Door side of the faction with the Necromancer. So which allies and heroes would you add to that?
Awesome. So Hunter Orcs are actually my sort of bread and butter at the moment. I've had a massive army purge in the latest crisis just to build up some money, and the one army that I've kept is actually like my Hobbit Evil Alliance, because I think Hunter Orcs are just some of the best models in the game, point for point. So the best way I can answer it is if I start by how I build my list. And I call it the three hunters because I start with Thimble, Yaznek and Narzug. And then you max out their war bands with I think it's 33 hunters and 3 wargs for your 3 full war bands. And I think you can get a war horn and a banner, and you're sitting around the 500 points mark, maybe just over 500 points with that lot. And from there, you can kind of put what you want in. I think a lot of people like to look at Bolg and Azog. I personally think that they're too many points for the payoff. It's a little bit of a hangover from the last edition where Magic was so good that big heroes didn't really sort of stand out. And although big heroes can hold their weight a lot more in this edition, I'm kind of in a habit of not really taking them. But I mean, Bolg or Azog would kick ass, adding them in. But how I build my list from that point is I then put a small Goblin Mercenary warband in from the Azog's Legion, because it's still green. And they just give you a huge amount of shenanigans. Even if you just take a really small warband, like the Captain and maybe 2 or 3, because if you're looking at things like Recon, 3 models off the board is a 7-point swing, assuming your opponent doesn't get any off. And so it just massively changes the dynamic of how you can play. And then building up from there, you're looking at either the Nazgul from the Dol Guldur list, some Mirkwood Spiders, because again their paralyze is phenomenal, and also Castellans of Dol Guldur. So I took them to the last tournament. It was James Clark's Desolation of Stockport, and I dropped 2 of those into my list, and they were absolutely phenomenal. And although the dice were on my side, I managed to kill Sauron with a Morgul Blade, which is one of the funniest things I've ever experienced. So in general, I go for the sort of target denial route. If you wanted to put a big old model like the Necromancer in there, because he's really good, especially with his army bonus. But the problem is he is a huge chunk of points. Even at like 800, he's taking a big slice out of the pie. But my recommendation would always be to base it off the 3 hunters. So even if you put the Necromancer in, you'd probably fill his warband. If you go in sort of troop heavy and wanting to max that out, I'd probably give him Gundabad Spears, because it helps out your Hunter Orcs when, it gives them more of a battle line to work off. But then I'd be looking at getting the 3 hunters in and as many bows as you can. With regards to dealing with terror-causing armies and high bow armies, I don't tend to worry about the bows too much, because if you're building your hunters list right, you're getting around 18 to 20 anyway. And although they're only 18-inch range and this, that, and the other, that they're absolutely, that there's more than enough there to make people think twice about having the shoot off. And with terror is a problem. It's a real nuisance, and it's quite popular now. Black Numenorians have had a real resurgence in the UK meta. The way I dealt with it is obviously the Warhorn helps a lot. And I just absolutely pile drive my heroes in early doors, and let heroic combat or whatever, and just try and wipe out that front line as quickly as you can. Because normally, if the current build is you've got your Black Numenorians on the front, and then you've got either Corsairs or more regularly Orc Warriors backing them up. And as soon as you've deleted the Black Numenorians, everything else is easy, because your Hunter Orcs will rip through most stuff. It's just the reliability of getting them in. So I really threw my heroes under the bus. Spend all the might that you need to do. Do whatever it takes just to remove that front line.
Assuming they all kill 2 from the first fight and then 2 from the second fight, you probably cleared the whole front line anyway.
Exactly. Even if you play more reserved and you get sort of 3 each, maybe you go into 1 to guarantee the combat. Make the combat more likely to pay off. And then you go into 2 and just Hail Mary. You're laughing, because after that you've made enough gaps, and because Hunter Orcs are a pretty hardy army, at that point you can afford to throw a lot of dice at the wall, trying to get just courage test, just to mop up. It's when the scary boys are stood in that flat line and you can't sort of gang up on specific models. It's really difficult to crack. But because I don't take big heroes that, I need to get the points worth out with, I just throw them under the bus. I don't tend to find terror now that I've played it a few times, to be that much of a problem. You just have to play different.
There you go. That's it. Right, well, I hope that helped Leon and Avery. I thought it was a good answer myself. Again, it's another aspect of dealing with terror that I hadn't considered before. So, yeah. Dan has asked, I've just started a Serpent Horde force, so I'd love to hear your opinions on this list. It's Suladan the Serpent Lord with Armoured Horse, 3 Abracant Merchant Guard, 3 Watchers of Kana with Twin Blades, 5 Haradrim Warriors with Spears and Bows, 2 Haradrim Warriors with Bows and War Spear. Okay. 5 Serpent Riders, a Haradrim King with a War Spear and a horse, obviously, because he's got a War Spear. 3 Merchant Guard, again, 3 Watchers of Kana with Twin Blades, 8 Warriors with Poison Bows and Spears, 1 Haradrim Warrior with Banner and Spear, and then Raza with 3 Merchant Guard again, 4 Haradrim Warriors with Bow and Spear, 1 Haradrim Warrior with Bow, and 3 Haradrim Raiders with Bow. 700 points, 47 models, 8 might.
I actually like that a lot. That's a really cool list. The things that I liked about it, I like that he's got a load of fatties in there. The Merchant Guard, I think they're phenomenal models for their points cost. I know they've gone up a point, but I still rate them. I still think they're great.
Yeah, I think for their points, they are still very good.
Absolutely. I think, well, I like the fact that he's got the bow spear on the back rank, because obviously it's a bit of a nuisance in the Harad box set where you basically get a bow or a spear, and you don't really your bows on the front line, especially when you've got access to all of these awesome sort of mid-tier models like your Watchers and your Fatties, because at that point they're fulfilling the same role. So putting the bow spear on the back's good. Watchers of Kana have taken a bit of a hit with a nerf bat in this edition. I'm not sure if they're worth it. The jury's out on that.
I think with the current terror cores of the meta, though, they are quite good.
Yeah.
Because they get the +2 courage for charging terror cores in, and assuming that a fighting army of the dead, they still get the +2 courage when they get wounded.
Yeah.
Maybe you know more than me, but...
Well, no, not necessarily. They're certainly not rubbish. I think the biggest thing that lets them down is the fact that they've dropped to defense 3. Admittedly, they are just wearing t-shirts for all intents and purposes. But anything that's defense 3 is, you're in a real risky zone there. But we can come back to the Watchers. He's got a lot of cavalry, hasn't he?
2 raiders, 5 riders, and then 3 more raiders. So yeah, 8. And then obviously Suladan's on a horse, and the Haradrim King's on a horse. Yeah,
I mean, I love that. The King's also got March, which is great. I know Suladan does as well, but you kind of want to save his might for doing cool stuff. Yeah, I actually really like that list. I'd be a bit cautious about the Watchers of Kana, but the 2 attacks in certain places can be really helpful.
Yeah, it's kind of got a mixed front rank of strength 4 burly, 2-handed, and then 2 attacks with all the spears behind.
Yeah, I think one of the things you can do is you operate in a way where the Merchant Guard do the killing, and you use your Watchers of Kana to secure the win. With the sort of weight of attacks.
Yeah.
I love the amount of cavalry he's got in this, because a lot of the scenarios require you to either outmaneuver your opponent or just be fast in general.
Yeah.
And having that much cav means, worst comes to worst, you can throw 3 horses under the bus. Just going for it for an objective, and if they get shot, they get shot. But they're causing issues, aren't they? I think quite a common mistake that people make in list building is they don't realise how important speed is. And you don't necessarily need your whole army to be fast, because that's quite specific. But you have to have something that can do it, and you'll often see people in a position where their only fast model is like their awesome hero that's on a horse. Yeah. And you don't want to send King Elisar for an objective, do you? It's never going to happen.
No.
Having that much cav is great.
It's also the reason why I added Suladan and some Haradrim Raiders to my Corsair list, for that exact reason.
Yeah, you got to have some speedy boys.
Didn't lose anything from it, and it gives me a massive advantage if they haven't got any fast-moving stuff. So.
Yeah, Exactly. Plus Suladan's banner slotting into Corsairs is phenomenal.
It is phenomenal. I love it. It's literally my favourite army at the moment.
My only concern with that list is it at 700 points. It's a little bit low on might, isn't it? What is it? It's 8 might.
8 might, yeah.
But in actual fact, it's more like 6. Well, no, it's more like 2 because Suladan and Raza have got a lot of work to do in that list. You've got 2 strikers, which is good. I'd always have at least 2 in a list, so that's spot on. But they're going to be using their might for calling heroic combats and strikes and things like that. So your only real sort of free might points are on the king, and I'm just wondering whether it might be worth putting a taskmaster in instead. I know you lose the horse and you lose the lance, so you kind of swapping the killing power for less might, but his sort of 4 up might keep you in the game a little bit longer. There's a possible consideration, but other than that, I think that's a really solid list.
I think his warbands would change though, because the Haradrim King's a hero of valor now.
Oh, were all the warbands full?
The King's one is 15 models. Suladan's is 6, 11. It's 18 models, and then Raza's got 7, 8, 11.
So, okay, maybe not then. Yeah, I mean the King's certainly not a bad option, is he? Yeah, I think that's a pretty solid list. You can't. I think in this current edition, Harad are a bit of a sleeper hit. I think you can do quite well with them, and they're not overly common at the moment. I don't know. I'm not entirely sure why, but they've got all the tools in their belt, haven't they? You could get away with not allying anything into that, and they'd stand up to most armies.
I guess the current meta before the big FAQ this year had a lot of blinding light. So if you're 50% in your strength 2 bows, maybe it's not as worthwhile. Maybe just
Yeah, blinding light's a bit of a dampener, but you've still got a really good amount of models, and almost all of them can fight. So I think that could be one of the issues with sort of. I mean, it's not a specialist army, but it works in a specific way. So the Serpent Horde, you look at the army bonus and you're thinking, shooting. But they've got some incredible fighting models in that army. And, you'd see Blinding Light and you'd be like, okay, I'm not going to get to shoot with my, 400,000 bows.
Yeah.
But, okay, we'll just go in and fight you instead. And
I mean, it's still 47 models, so...
Yeah, it's obscene. And their defense is a bit rubbish, but you've got a lot of attacks there, and if you're winning the fights, you're going to kill stuff with the burly lads.
Especially
I'd really rate that list. Who was it that wrote that?
That was Dan Slob.
Well done, Dan. I played Dan at Manchester actually, and he had a really nice Angmar list. Okay. But yeah, that's a really good Harad list, mate. I'd back that, to be fair.
There you go. David Whittaker has commented all of Thorin's company with Bilbo and Gandalf, and he's put best list ever. I mean, thematically, you can't argue with that. But
how could I possibly improve perfection?
Yeah, indeed. I'm assuming that's normal. Yeah, it's not champions, so yeah, that is cool. It's very cool on the table. I don't know if it would win some games, I guess.
You're laughing in Contest of Champions.
Indeed, yeah.
I think that's a semi-troll answer, knowing David. But yeah, I mean, you can't improve on that. I'm sure it'll be a lot of fun.
Tom Maynard has asked, he's got an 800-point Barad-dûr list. Let's see if I can open up the picture.
Ooh,
it's
nice.
The Dark Lord Sauron, 10 Orc Warriors with shield, 9 Orc Warriors with spears, 1 Orc Warrior with spear and Orc bow, and 1 Orc Warrior with banner. And then he's got a Ring Wraith with 2 might, 1 fate. No extra will. He hasn't put extra will, so I'm assuming it'll be 7.
Yeah.
4 Orc Warriors with shield, 4 Orc Warriors with spear, 1 Orc Warrior with spear and bow, 1 Orc Tracker on Warg. I like that. And then he's got an Orc Captain with shield, 4 Orcs with shield, 4 Orcs with spear, 1 Orc with spear and bow, and again 1 Orc Tracker on Warg. It's 800 points, 44 models, 5 bow, 7 might, and his breakpoint's 22. Which,
but it's not because Sauron does.
Sauron, yeah.
Sure. Again, really like it. Sauron is devastating. you can quite often come up against armies in tournament play that just cannot take him on. They just don't have anything that they can fight him with. I know there's a couple of, well, at least one tracker that I heard, maybe a few more on Warg. So you've got a little bit of speed.
There's two.
Two, okay.
Yeah.
What I'd recommend is getting a drummer in there. You could trade the captain, but I wouldn't. I'd probably just take a chunk of models out and do that. The thing that people need to remember with this list is your model count doesn't actually matter. Because of Sauron's rules, it's going to be very hard for most armies to get you to a point where you can even be broken. So what you need to do is you need to make the other models that you have as effective as they can be for scenario play. So the only change I'd make is I'd look at getting an Orc drummer in there, so Sauron can whiz up the table and start inflicting pain much quicker than people are prepared to deal with.
Yeah. So yeah, Captain could march. The drum would help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, if you've got Sauron running 12 inches a turn, suddenly he's right in your face. That's a pretty scary idea, isn't it?
Yeah, he's followed up his own question by saying, at 1,000 points, should he upgrade the Wraith to the Witch King with the crown and maybe even a Fell Beast? I think for 1,000, probably add the drum and some more bodies.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's another army that suffers with disposable might, as I'd sort of mentioned in the Harad list, because Sauron should not be spending his might on anything other than making sure he doesn't roll a 1. So I'd definitely upgrade the Wraith to the Witch King, because why wouldn't you? He's just so good.
He's really good.
I'd probably, for 1,000 points, I'd look at getting maybe 2 or 3 more Orc captains in, just for their heroic move might and things like that. Get the drummer in, and that at that point you just spam Orcs. Why not?
Yeah,
why not?
He's then asked another question regarding a 550 point Minas Tirith list. He'd like to keep LSR and a core of regular warriors, but anything else is up for debate. So the list is Aragorn King LSR with Armoured Horse, 5 warriors of Minas Tirith with Shield, 4 warriors of Minas Tirith with Shield and Spear, 5 rangers of Gondor with Spear, 2 knights of Minas Tirith with Shield, a knight of the White Tower, 3 warriors of Minas Tirith with Shield, 4 warriors of Minas Tirith with Spear and Shield, 3 rangers of Gondor with Spears, and 1 knight of Minas Tirith with Shield. So it's 550 points, 29 models. It's got 8 bows. Only got 5 might, but Aragorn's got a free one every turn. So
yeah, that's not bad, is it? 550, you've got quite a good model count. People will struggle to deal with LSR at that points level. I'm not too sure about the Knight of the White Tower. I'm just going to grab his profile out of my book and have a look. He's got 2 might now. He's got strike. Yeah, do you know what? He's not a bad shout, to be fair.
How many points is he?
He's 60.
Okay, it's not bad.
I mean, the only thing I'd recommend really would be perhaps swapping him for Kyrian. It's 5 points cheaper, which is neither here nor there, but it just gives you an extra might point. And he can still strike. I'd maybe just look at doing that.
It's the only fight. They're both only fight 4 though, aren't they?
The knight is fight 5 base.
Oh, okay.
But I don't think that's a no deal, no bueno for Kyrian. It depends how themey you want to be. I mean, Faramir is not a huge amount of points more. You could throw him in on a horse for 90 points. So if you could find 30 points out of somewhere, you've then got 2 quite threatening heroes. But yeah, it's not a bad list. You've got the bows, you've got the speed, and Aragorn's an absolute murder monster.
Yeah.
So at low points, yeah, that's a pretty hot list. Maybe just look at someone like Kyrian for that extra might point.
Someone else has commented he likes pairing King Aragorn with the King of the Dead.
Yeah, it's a disgusting combination.
Yeah, it's pretty nasty. Leon has come back with another list. He's got Dane mounted, 12 Iron Hills with Spear and Shield, 1 Goat Rider. Oh no, it's not a. I've completely assumed it was an Iron Hills army. It's not. He's got Thror with 13 Strength 4 Grimhammers, 600 points, in Good versus Evil meta with lots of Mordor with Black Numenorians at the front and Morannons at the back, often with a Witch King.
Yeah, the Iron Hills are amazing. I think everybody knows that. It's the worst kept secret ever, isn't it?
Yeah.
The allying with Army of Thrall is a really, really interesting one. There's a lot of advantages. You're getting you get the strength four from Thrall, with the throwing axes as well, which gives a little bit more flexibility. At slightly higher points, you look at putting in the Iron Hills Ballista as well, and you end up with a really grim army.
Yeah.
You can make Thrall your general, which means you can go crazy with Dane, because Thrall's probably not going to die, most of the time. There's a lot to like with that list. I think, though, it doesn't actually work. And the reason with that is you're paying quite a lot of points for all of your troops, but it doesn't matter so much with Iron Hills because generally speaking, you're putting a spear and shield and everything, and I don't think a lot of people realise how much flexibility it gives you when you basically can't be flanked.
Yeah.
The King's Guard or whatever they're called from Army of Thrall are really good, and that on paper they give you a lot of positives, but it ruins the dynamic of how you can play the Iron Hills, because how many Iron Hills players do you see where they don't put spears on the front rank? They've all got swordsmen. It doesn't happen, and I think
they're always spear and shield.
Yeah, it helps massively the fact that the whole box set comes with spear and shield.
Yeah.
But you can never be flanked, and if you can formulate a way, playing against the list that Leon's proposing, if you get around the back, or if you get like a Maelstrom scenario and they pincer you, things like that, half your army is on its ass, and it's really going to struggle to get back into it.
Yeah.
Whereas a normal warband, you don't care, and I think that's actually worth more than a lot of people think. So personally, while on paper it looks like an amazing idea, I don't think the Army of Thrall Iron Hills thing actually works.
Does Thrall make them fearless?
Dane only makes his boys fearless.
Because assuming you'd want they're all strength 4, but it wouldn't make sense to not have the Grim Hammers on the front rank, because you've got spears and shields behind, but then they don't have fearless on the front rank, so you're still struggling to charge things potentially.
Exactly. This is another issue with that sort of build. I'm just going to double check what Thrall brings, but I think you're absolutely right. The Grimhammers are Courage 4 anyway, but Courage 4 versus Fearless, it's a no contest, isn't it?
I mean, Courage 4 down to 3 on average, you should still pass. Because average on 2 dice is 7, but it's not as reliable as guarantee whatever charges you need to make.
No. So just to sort of speed this up a little bit and answer Leon's question, I think in general, there's the things that the Army of Thrall can bring to the army is not actually worth it. You'd be better off losing your army bonus and putting in a big Thorin, and leaving Dane as the general is my advice on that. I don't think the Army of Thrall edition actually works in practice.
Right, I think Ali said something very similar. Actually, he said when theorising Thrall lists with Iron Hills lists, you end up taking more Iron Hills because they're just better.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I hope that's helped Leon. He has asked another question. It's the same meta, currently 595 points with 5 points to spend. You're allowed to basically change anything. I'm just looking for a competitive 600 points Rivendell list with a good and evil format. So he's got Elrond Master Rivendell with horse and heavy armor, one high elf warrior with banner, spear and shield, 7 high elf warriors with shield, 5 high elf warriors with elf bow and spear, 2 high elf warriors with spear and shield, 1 Rivendell knight with shield, and then he's got Lindir, 6 high elves with shield, 4 high elf warriors with bow and spear, and 2 high elf warriors with spear and shield.
How many models? It can't be more than 30.
13, 15, 16, 22, 26, 28. 30 is 30, bang on.
Right. Nah, to be honest. Elves aren't that great. I think high elves have got a massive problem where they can't actually kill anything. Um, and if you're only putting Elrond in, you're putting the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Lindy is a nice little addition in that he buffs Elrond, but when Elrond's your only real killer, you kind of need to be looking at putting someone else in that can actually share some of the load.
Even a captain with a lance.
Yeah, exactly. You put what was formerly a knight captain in there. You put maybe even Eristor or someone like that in.
Mm.
I just think sort of all foot Rivendell is not a particularly competitive build any way you look at it. If you're going to take Rivendell Knights. I know that's going to upset a lot of people that have had their lovely high elf models for 20 years now.
Yeah.
They're just not that good. If you're wanting to take an all-foot elf list, take Thranduil's Halls and have +1 to wound on a big chunk of them. Do you know what I mean?
Or I mean, he could. I don't know if he's got the models, but again, assuming he has, I don't think. And how many points is Isildur? Is he a lot of points? Because
I think he's around 120.
You could go with some Numenorians. They're a bit cheaper than the elves, so you probably make the points difference up. At least then you get some strength 4.
Yeah, it's not a terrible shout. Even if you just dropped Isildur in, to be honest. Yeah, he's 120, so he's 135 with Force and Shield.
Mm.
Just drop him in.
I know a lot of our local meta has the high elves by themselves aren't very good, but the Numenorians make them a lot better because obviously they get the fight value and the strength 4.
Yeah, my recommendation if you're going to go down the Numenor route is put Isildur in because he's really good. And then you take Numenorian Spearman because 9 times out of 10 the defense 6 on the elves will help you out quite a lot. People get really twitchy about putting the better model on the front line, but strength 3 currently in the UK is on an upward trend compared to strength 4. Because it used to be defense 5 or 7 because strength 4 was everywhere.
Yeah.
And nowadays I feel like it swings a little bit more towards the strength 3 way. So I'd put your defense 6 elves on the front. And yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. I'd maybe look at putting Isildur and some strength 4 spearmen in there. But ultimately, if you're wanting to run all for elves, there's better factions.
Well, actually, it's got a lot of replies to his comment. Someone has replied, "Good list. Personally, I dropped the 1 knight, pick up 2 infantry purely because a single cav alongside Elrond won't make as much difference in the game compared to increasing your breakpoint, as you'd have more from an even numbers to an odd number, and 2, with the numbers almost guaranteed to be against you, being able to pull it closer allows your fight value to keep you closer to him in numbers. I know some people want more potent support than Lindir or more killy guys than Elrond, but I really like this pairing. That's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. That pairing works a lot better in the knight list because the Wrath of Brunan's more important.
Yeah.
But I mean, as we discussed, it's a fair comment about the breakpoint and things like that. But from a competitive standpoint, you need that speed. If you've got 29 foot troops running around the field, you're putting yourself at a massive disadvantage.
Yeah.
For objective scenarios, and 1 night could make a massive difference.
There's a few more comments going back and forth regarding that. We'll just leave that. Matthew Light has said, Burda, Shade, Captain on Warg, 12 with spear, 12 spear shield, 12 shield orcs, 1 orc spear with banner and spectre, Shadow Lord on foot, a tracker, Spider Queen, and a Warg at 700 points.
Oh yes, the classic Matt Light list.
Indeed. Someone actually put classic Matt bin Baggard profiles list. Yeah.
So what have we got? Angmar, Mordor, just checking the ally matrix. I'm pretty sure that's red. Yeah, so it's a red list, which he really likes. Brings its own advantages. Yeah, it's a solid list. Matt Light doesn't really need my list building advice. I'd say he's one of the best people in the game at doing it. Unfortunately, he also has no regard for theme, which makes me sad. Um, but yeah, the list is fine. Birdo is really, really good. He's one of my favourite models, always has been. Shades are still great. He'd have to be careful because I think the shade would affect his Shadow Lord and Spider Queen now. But they're both fast models. You can get around that. Had you put the Shadow Lord on a Fell Beast?
Shadow Lord's on foot.
On foot. Okay,
Yeah.
sure. Well, he's not going to be fighting anyway then. So as long as he keeps the Spider Queen out of the range of the shade, I mean that is absolutely fine.
The Shadow Lord's just in there to protect his models from shooting.
Yeah, people are so scared of shooting, and I'm not really sure why. Because unless you're coming against like a night list, which I suppose if he's aiming for winning events, you're probably going to come across Ed Ball and his knights at some point. So that's fair enough. But make all the Orcs defense 5, then most of your stuff would be fine. Really.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a solid list. My only concern with that is he's putting a lot of faith in just basic Orc warriors. He normally protects them quite well with Black Numenorians because, of the Scary Bubble Defense 6 and Fight 4, they're quite a complementary profile. So to go just Chod Orcs is a big risk because even with the shade and stuff, they're not the most inspiring profile, are they? They're just Orc warriors for a reason.
Yeah, I mean, they could get straight 4 if they've all got picks, but again, they're still not great. So
no, but if you're leaning into Angmar, you don't really have any other choices. So yeah, I think that's solid. I'm not sure it would win an event based on the fact that Orc Warriors are Orc Warriors.
It's quite low numbers, surely, for 700.
Yeah, but the thing is, it's all about points maximization.
Right.
So my 700 points versus your 700 points is pretty grim. In your favour, let's say I'm Matt Light, but then if my Bird, Shade, and Spider Queen is fighting against one warband of yours, suddenly it doesn't matter so much, does it? And
That's true.
He could quite easily stand his orcs behind and just let the big boys do the talking. It's similar, like the olden days with Ed Ball's Fell Beasts. You could have 50 elves, but his 4 Fell Beasts are only going to fight 8 at a time.
Yeah, that's fair.
So yeah, it's a solid list. I don't think it'd. Well, I could be wrong, and I'd be happily proven wrong. I don't think that would win an event because normal Orc Warriors need to do a lot more work than I think they can do than that list.
There you go. Pascal has put in a 800-point list. It's named the 2 Towers. It's Saruman on horse with Grima, 4 Berserkers, 4 Orcs with Spear and Shield, 1 Warg Rider with Shield and Throwing Weapon, and then it has the Witch King, 3 14-3 on a Fell Beast with a Crown, 6 Black Numenorians, 4 Morannons with Shield and Spear, 2 Orcs with Shield and Spear, 1 Orc with Banner and Shield, 2 Orc Trackers, 1 Warg Rider with Shield and Throwing Spear, and then an Orc Captain on Warg with Shield, 4 Black Numenorians, 4 Orcs with Shield and Spear, and 1 Warg Rider with Shield. 38 models.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, isn't it?
That's 3, 6, 8 might.
Yeah, Pascal's a really good player as well. So he's clearly put a lot of thought into that list. I mean, what's not to like? You've got 2 of arguably the best casters in the game.
Yeah.
In that list, the Witch King can get a lot of work done. Saruman's, I assume, the leader. He's an excellent leader. A pretty good model count. My only concern is, I could be wrong, but you've only got 1 strike in the Witch King, which leaves yourself a little bit vulnerable. But I mean, for tournament play, yeah, that's really strong, especially nowadays when people are generally taking like 1 big awesome hero in a list.
Yeah.
So, let's say someone brings a pretty strong Gondor list with LSR in. Suddenly LSR's got Saruman and the Witch King to resist. It's a bit of a bad time there. My only concern about that list is, let's say I played against that with my Hunter Orcs. I've got near 60 models, and almost no one worth casting magic against.
True.
So you've got a lot of redundant points there. That's not to say that list wouldn't beat my list, but you're almost putting all your eggs into one basket there. But the Saruman Witch King combo is awesome, and yeah, I'd certainly give that a go at a tournament. I'd back that to podium in the right hands, I think.
Yeah, definitely. It definitely looks good.
Yeah.
You've got Terra, you've got Berserkers, which are good still. Not as good, but they're still good.
Yeah, absolutely. If nothing else, you just let the Berserkers sit on objectives, knowing that they're not going to run away. Like there's always a use for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, good list. Good list.
Okay. Colin Brown has asked 600 points of Mordor and Mirkwood Yellow Alliance, or Dark Denizens. So he's got Dark Denizens of Mirkwood.
Yeah.
The Spider Queen with 2 Felwargs. And then for Mordor, he has Kardush with 4 Black Numenorians, 5 Orc Warriors with Spear. I guess in the same with Shield, because he hasn't specified. I guess it's the same. 1 Warg Rider, Shadow Lord on Fell Beast, 7 Black Numenorians, 6 Morannons with Spear and Shield. Maybe it is a single. Oh, it might be a single one because of... Yeah, it is, sorry. A single Morannon with Spear, Shield and Banner, and then an Orc Tracker. I think you actually commented anyway saying, is this not red?
No, he is right. It is amber.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it shouldn't be, but hey, it is.
Depends on what ally matrix you check, perhaps.
Well, yeah, perhaps. I was just thinking off the top of my head. It doesn't seem right. I'm pretty sure the Spider Queen got stamped on by this point, but hey, that's not this guy's problem. It's another good list. It's quite a popular thing to see now. The Shadow Lord Spider Queen combo,
Right.
and with that comes the Black Numenorians. And am I right though? There's so many more Black Numenorians now compared to how they used to be.
Again, I think it's
crazy.
The prevalence of Army of the Dead. It kind of works the same way. You know, if you've got, I mean, they both should be able to charge each other. I guess it's kind of. I don't know. Locally, I don't get to as many GBHO events as I used to, but locally, that even I've had to start taking 12 Black Numenorians just to be able to charge stuff. So, if I haven't got Fury or if I'm playing Corsairs, so yeah, maybe that's why
they're just everywhere. I think players like Ryan Hinch and Matt Light have used them to quite prolific success as well, which always helps.
Yeah.
Anyone that wants to do well and is part of the GBHL is looking what the best players are taking and at least being influenced by that.
Of course.
So, yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say about that list. It's proven to work. It's a solid list. It's a little bit less good now that you can't drop the shade in as well, because it just ruined your list as much as it ruined your opponents.
Yeah, it'd be great.
But yeah, it's solid enough. It takes a bit of finesse to play. You got to pick your moments with the Spider Queen. But yeah, there's not really any advice for that. It's a good list.
Fair enough. I have written he's written a first Mordor list. He's never played it and he's never used magic either. So
awesome.
Interesting. 648 points. It's for a 650 point list. He has straight away Shagrat with armor and shield, which I love.
Yeah.
5 Morannons with shield and spear. 5 Morannons with shield. 2 Warg Riders with throwing spears. Warband 2, he has a Ring Wraith with maximum Might, Will and Fate on a Fell Beast. 6 Morannons with spear. 6 Morannons with shield. And he has Gorbag with shield, who's got I think he's got better in this edition. 5 Orcs with shield and spear, 5 Orcs with shield, 1 Orc with banner, and 1 Warg Rider with bow. I don't know who his leader is, but they're all Fortitude, which is pretty cool.
I'd imagine it'd be Shagrat. If I had to pick between those three, I'd probably pick Shagrat.
Yeah, but I guess
Shagrat or the Wraith.
You could pick the Wraith because if he has to fight, he's on a Fell Beast. And for contest, where you probably want to have Shagrat, you could just charge Shagrat into their leader and then the Wraith flies over and kills stuff at the back. But again...
Yeah, I mean, they're both good shouts. It's not Gorbag, is it? That's what we do now.
No, it's definitely not a callback. So.
I'd looked at this list when I was scanning through.
Uh-huh.
The only thing for me to say, I mean, Shagrat's awesome. People should be using him more. He's a really, really grim model. One of very few evil models that's got blood and glory, if I'm correct.
Does, yeah.
Which is phenomenal. The only thing I'd say on that is you're putting a lot of points into a Wraith, and for not many more points, you could get a named one, which is significantly better in almost every way. Because I'm not sure what a full Wraith goes up to, but it's not far off 120 points, is it?
Well, I think it'd be the named Wraith start at 120.
The named Wraith's 120. What does an unnamed Wraith cost?
55, and then 5 will, 5 will, 2 might, 2 fate. So
they're 110 points fully started.
Yeah.
So for 10 points, mate, you could just put any of the named Wraiths in, which would be a lot better. The Shadow Lord can stop you from getting shot. If it's your first go with Magic and you want to kind of really give it a go, someone like the Undying, where you've got 18 will points to play with, and that also gives you a general that's basically not going to die unless something goes terribly wrong.
Yeah.
You can look at the Dark Marshal for a big 6-inch banner. There's a lot of options there. If you're going to spend 110 points on a Wraith, you might as well spend 120 on a named one.
Doesn't have any fury either.
That's not necessarily terrible. I mean, Cardiff is great. It's very hard to.
Well, does Cardiff have fury? Let's have a look.
Yeah. Cardiff has got fury, flame burst.
Yeah.
But it's the fact that he can just eat an orc and get will back, so he can't just be sat-willed or whatever.
Yeah.
Without making everybody take the exact same Mordor list, you'd have to really justify not taking Kardash over a normal Shaman. But if you don't want to take Fury at all, that's okay. He's got some big fighty heroes there, which will do a lot of damage. I'd just say look at taking a named Wraith of some sort, whatever you think you'd like to play with the most, especially being new to Magic, because they all offer different things.
There you go. He's then asked, is it the same guy? No, it's not. It's a 500-point Goblin Town list. And maybe could give advice on best how to play it. Each Goblin hero model, so he has the Goblin King with 11 goblins, Grinner with 18 goblins, one of them has a two-handed axe, a Captain with 18, again, one of them has a two-handed axe, the Scribe with 5 warriors, and Golem. Oh, it's grim. 500 points.
That is so grim. I actually took Goblin Town to the GBHL Masters a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
And did pretty well with it. I got knocked out in the semi-finals by Jakob. We drew, but he went through on VPs conceded. My only advice for the Goblin Town list is the Scribe is actually super overrated, and you don't need him. You're taking a buttload of models anyway, and a lot of the scenarios stop him from doing the shenanigans to the maximum effect, because he'll either have to, a lot of the scenarios restrict the board edges or whatever that things can come on from.
Yeah.
So my recommendation for that list is to swap the Scribe for Goblin Mercenaries, like I spoke about earlier. Mm-hmm. Because it doesn't matter what the scenario is, they can always come on somewhere helpful. Almost always, unless you're playing on a board with 0 terrain,
which you shouldn't be.
You really shouldn't be. They can always come on somewhere, and they can do everything that the Scribe does, but better. And I know, theoretically speaking, the Scribe could bring on an extra 20 goblins and really put pressure on people, but the mercenaries are reliably good every time. So that would be my recommendation. You swap the Scribe for some mercenaries. And with regards to playing it, you just have a whale of a time. You just throw goblins at people until they're dead. And then you can literally throw goblins at them until they're dead with the Goblin King if you need to. The Goblin King Golem combo is awesome.
Okay, I have played it once myself. It is fun.
Yeah, especially at low points. You've got a lot of shenanigans in a high model count list, which is just a really sweet spot to be in.
What models is it? 36, 47, 52, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, it's 57 in its current rendition.
Exactly. Like you're going to outnumber almost every 500-point army at 2-1, which is perfect. Wrap around them, trap them, and let Gollum and the Goblin King have a field day. And enjoy. It's a really fun list to play.
There you go. Ben has asked, first time making lists, so he's a new player, I guess. It's a 700-point Thranduil Halls list, so he has Thranduil on Elk with everything, 2 Mirkwood Cav, 1 Palace Guard with Banner and Spear, 1 Mirkwood, I guess is that a normal Mirkwood, just put a Mirkwood Soldier with Banner and Glaive, so I guess that's just a normal elf, 6 Palace Guard with Sword and Shield, 5 Palace Guard with Spear and Shield, and he has Legolas on horse with Orcrist, 8 Mirkwood Rangers, and 1 Mirkwood Sentinel.
So only 2 heroes, yeah?
Yeah, he's also got 2 banners, I think.
Interesting.
Unless that's a typo. No, it's not. He's got a Palace Guard with a banner, and he's got a normal elf with a banner.
Cool. First things first then. Swap one of those banners for another Sentinel, because Sentinels are awesome. Consider whether you really want to take Mirkwood Rangers, because they're not particularly good in almost at anything. A normal Mirkwood Warrior with Defense 5 on his bow will do the same job but better. To be honest, Defense 3 is such a liability. As I mentioned with the Warriors of Karna, Watchers, sorry. Thranduil with all of the stuff is an interesting one. I'd argue that he doesn't really need it all. You can end up spending a lot of points on things that you don't actually use. A big one for me is the elk, and whether the elk's worth it over the horse, because once you get into the thicker combat, you'd probably be looking at dismounting Thranduil anyway and letting him just go ham with his blades.
Right.
Because once he's on foot, there's no downside really.
True.
I know you're not knocking things over, but he's never going to be worse off. The thing that army suffers with, and it's similar for a lot of armies that have a couple of named characters and then nothing else, is that you've not got any redundant might, because you need to use Legolas's might for getting his bow shots in, where to make the damage where he needs to, and then you need Thranduil's for heroic combats, which means if you ever need to call a heroic move, you're whittling down your resources pretty bad.
Or can he march? Has he even got march either? I don't think so.
Oh, that's a good shout. Yeah. In case it's not been mentioned already, march is super important, guys. Make sure you've got march in your list.
You always need march.
Let's have a look, see.
I don't think Leggy has march.
Leggy's definitely not got it. No, he's got no march in the list. So look at possibly getting a captain in there. You lose a few models, but elves are low model count anyway. Get a captain in there because they'll do a lot of work for you.
A Palace Guard captain.
Yeah, and you get Fight 7.
Yeah.
And who doesn't like Fight 7? So yeah, in short, you don't need 2 banners. You maybe don't need all of the equipment on Thranduil. You definitely need a captain in there, I think, if you're wanting it to do really well.
Yeah, maybe just take Legolas out and then have another. I don't play Thranduil's Halls, so I really don't know. But you do need march.
Yeah, Leggy brings a lot to the party. But yeah, you need march. So figure out what you'd need to drop to slip a captain in there.
Does Tariel have march? I don't think she does she?
I don't think so. Okay. I'd be very surprised. If not, we'd see a lot more of her.
Yeah, fair.
Tariel. No, accuracy and strike, same as
okay. There you go. Scott Whitefoot has asked, it's a 600-point Harad. Suladan, Serpent Lord with horse, armored horse. 2 Harrigan warriors with bow and poison arrows. 4 Serpent Guard, 1 Serpent Rider, 3 Abracan Merchant Guard. The Betrayer with horse. 6 Harrigan warriors with bow. 5 Harrigan warriors with bow and spear. 2 Harrigan raiders with bow and spear. And then Raza, 2 Harrigan warriors with bow. 4 Serpent Guard, 1 Serpent Rider, and 3 Abracan Merchant Guard.
How many points was that?
600.
Yeah, that's pretty good, isn't it?
I think so.
There's a lot of the same sentiments as with the first Harad list. Good bows, good killing models. My only concern with that would be the redundant might again. Do you really need Raza as much as you perhaps need some, like a captain with March or something
king.
like that, or a king? A king with March. I mean, Raza's really good, but if you don't get him into the guy that he wants to kill, he's just another fight 4 hero. Yeah, he's got strike, which is good. The thing is, there's a lot of rules that you need to juggle, because I normally like to have at least 2 strikes in the list.
Right.
But you can negate a lot of that with the fact that you've got a magic caster. But
Betrayer's not reliable at casting, though.
No, he's not the best, is he? But he'll try his best for you, I suppose.
Chucking two dice needing a 4, you might get it. So
yeah, it's one of those. It's a solid list as it is. I'd probably look at trying to get some March in there on someone that isn't your leader.
Yeah, true. Okay. Tim Pash. I'm not gonna try and butcher your last name, Tim. Sorry, mate. His current list he's working on is again, I think one that you're quite familiar with. 700 points of Riders of Theoden Legendary Legion.
Nice.
Theoden on armored horse with heavy armor and shield. Gambling on horse with royal standards. That's obvious.
Yeah.
Derwine on her horse. Dernhelm on horse.
Yeah.
Three royal guard on horse with throwing spear. 2 rider of Rohan with banner and throwing spears. So 2 banners, maybe? That'd be 3 banners. That'd be interesting, if that's correct. 12 riders of Rohan with throwing spears. Some ideas he's playing with is dropping. Oh, some ideas he's currently playing with is dropping Derwine for Dernhelm. Derwine and Dernhelm for Aemir, and or dropping a banner for 2 extra riders.
Awesome. There's a lot to play with there, isn't there?
It's it's a lot of, what's that? It's 14, 17 normal, 3 royal guard, but 17 troops, so to speak, and then currently 4 heroes, but potentially 3 heroes.
Yeah, so with just because it might come up again later, there's 2 main ways that you can build the Riders of Theoden Legion. So you go pretty much all hero, which is all of the named characters apart from Aemir, because I don't think he's worth it. And then as many captains as you can squeeze in, with maybe a royal guard per hero, just for like objectives and getting in the way and stuff.
And they're fearless. Well, they're not fearless, but bodyguard. Yeah,
and the fight 5 on the charge, they're really, really good. The other way to build it is you go basically how he's done it. You say it was 700 points?
Yes.
So my previous 700 points was Theoden, Gamling, Derwine, Dernhelm, and I think it was 10 and 10. So 10 Royal Guard, 10 Riders. It gives you enough shooting to do what you need to do, and then enough other stuff to go around and fight. I don't think you need that second or possibly even third banner. I think that's a tad excessive. If you're going down the Cav route, I'd look at taking a few more Royal Guard, because they're just so good. It's very hard to justify not taking them. They're defense 6, which means if you don't get the charge with them, they can hold out. Fight 5 means you can just delete baby heroes with a 15-point model. They're just super, super good.
And bodyguard is really good.
Yeah, absolutely. You couldn't take pure them because you need some bows, and also the axes on the riders give you strength 5 on the charge, which can really cut through stuff.
Yeah.
But a good number of them can really do some work for you.
There you go. So with regards to, is it he's considering dropping Derwine and Dernhelm for Aemir? That's a no.
Never in a million years.
And dropping a banner for 2 extra riders, potentially.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah, AMA is good. He's a big, cool, choppy hero. But Day of One gives you a free heroic combat every turn, and no one needs to be told how good Dernhelm is.
No, that profile is incredible. Yeah, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Unless you Black Dart Mary, which is fun.
Yeah.
Damien has asked, I don't know if this is, I think it is a joke. I think it is. Saruman on horse and 18 Crabane, 550 points.
Well, I know that Damien actually owns all of that. So it's
I know he owns it all, but I don't know.
It's probably not
actually, it'd be fun to see it on the table.
I actually think Crabane are a sleeper hit, and they are going to absolutely dominate the table soon. And it sounds like I'm joking, but I'm not. How 18 will do, I don't know. But if you look at it objectively, you've got 18 models that have fly for a start.
Yeah.
They can only be hit by bows on 6s, so shooting is completely negated. Mm-hmm. And they've got 4 wounds each, which means nothing can heroic combat off them if you get the charge on them.
Yeah, it's they're kind of good. I played against them a couple of weeks ago, actually. A lot lower points, but I think he only had 1. And even then, with the ability to get behind and take away spear supports, and then, as you say, fly where they needed to fly the next turn, I was like, wow, but 1 or 2 in a normal sort of Isengard or Dunland list is really, really good. So,
yeah, there's a tiny little box of terror in the corner of SBG, which is models that would be super good if hoarded, if people were crazy enough or could afford it.
Yeah.
So, like, people often talk about Mirkwood Spiders with mixed reviews. They're either all right or they're rubbish.
Yeah.
And they put a lot of their points in the paralyzed thing on a 5+, which if you've got 2, will miss most of the time, and you'll think, "Buh, these guys are rubbish."
Yeah.
Imagine if you had 20 of them. Imagine if you could throw 20 shots at paralyzing things. Suddenly, they're really good, aren't they?
So it's 1 in 3. Yeah, should hit 6 a turn theoretically,
and they're just out the game. They're done.
Yeah, I mean that is horrendous.
This is the thing.
That's horrendous.
Like, if someone was crazy enough to put 400 points into 20 Mirkwood Spiders, and then who knows, you take some Nazgul or some Hunter Orcs or whatever, it's terrifying. And it's the same with Crabane. It's the fact that they've got the 4 wounds and they basically can't be shot.
Yeah.
Let's say you play against Ed Ball, right? And he's got his Elrond and probably like 12, 13 knights at 550.
Yeah.
So Saruman's going to Sorcerer's Blast 2 over every turn. The Crabane cannot be shot and can move faster than the elves can.
Yeah.
So suddenly you're just going to put a Crabane on an elf and duke it out, and they need to put 4 wounds on you, and you need to kill their horse. Like, the Crabane list wins every time.
Yeah, unless you just shoot Saruman, I suppose. But
then the 18 Crabane will do enough work.
Yeah, true.
And the thing is that they're Courage 3 as well, I think, which is hilarious. Who knew a flock of birds could be so brave?
Let's have a look. I've got the book to hand. War in Rohan. Is it that one? Yeah, it is. Yes. Crabane are... Yeah, they are Courage 3.
Yeah, exactly. The bravest birds ever.
Yeah.
They're crazy, mate. Then it's that they fall into this little box of terror that if someone was mad enough to take a lot of them...
Like David.
Yeah, it could be far better than people give them credit for alone.
I can't wait to see the Throne of Skulls edition where he has another hero with as many Crabane as possible.
Yeah, it'd be amazing. Absolutely amazing.
No, that does sound pretty mad. Moving on. Dan Stewart has asked a fun Easterling / Khan list. Would love to know what improvements he could make. Can I open the picture, please, Facebook? Yep. Amdur on Armoured Horse, 5 Easterling Warriors with Shield, 5 Easterling Warriors with Pike and Shield, 5 Easterling Warriors with Pike Shield and the Black Dragon upgrade.
Yeah.
War Priest with Armoured Horse, 4 Eastern Warriors with Shield, 4 Eastern Warriors with Pike and Shield, and then 4 Black Dragons with Pike and Shield.
Yeah.
Dragon Knight on Armoured Horse, 3 Cataphracts, Black Dragon, 1 Cataphract, War Drum, Black Dragon. And then the canned detachment is a Candish King on Chariot with 2 Candish Horsemen, a Candish Chieftain on Chariot with 3 Candish Horsemen, a Candish Chieftain on Chariot with 3 Candish Horsemen. It's 45 models and it's 1,000 points.
I remember reading this and I liked it a lot.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. Competitively speaking, you've not actually got many models there for 1,000 points, I don't think. But the models that you do have are really good. I'd get rid of the Cataphracts because they're not particularly good. He's got a load of cavalry in the canned stuff anyway.
Yeah.
I'd keep the drummer because the drums are awesome. We've talked about drums already today. The only other thing I'd say is try and squeeze some points somewhere to put pikes on your front rank of boys as well. And it's just the same concept with the Army of Thoroughright Hills thing. It just means you can never be flanked. You'll never have a model that can't do anything.
I guess if he was to drop the Cataphracts, you'd probably have enough.
Points. Yeah, he'd have plenty of points spare. The Dragon Knights are amazing. I've used them to devastating effect. Amda going forward is one of the best heroes in the game. And I'll fight anyone that disagrees with me.
No, I actually think he's very good as well.
Yeah. Really solid list. The chariots will either do nothing or destroy an army. What's not to like there?
It's random chaos fun, but it is fun.
Oh. That'll do.
That'll do, yeah.
You'll win Contest of Champions.
And maybe Lords of Battle.
And probably Lords of Battle.
Ali has asked, Amdur on Armoured Horse, 6 warriors with shield, 6 warriors with shield and pike, 2 Cataphracts, a war drum. I think one of them has a war drum. War Priest, 6 warriors with shield, 6 warriors with shield and pikes, and then he's got a Dragon Knight on Armoured Horse with 4 Black Dragons with shield and pike, and then he's got a second Dragon Knight on Armoured Horse with 4 Black Dragons with shield and pike, and that's 700 points.
I think me and Ali have talked about this Easterling list a few times.
Okay.
Easterlings are really good. I think they're one of the armies that is barely seen because no one respects them, and they've got so many shenanigans that they're easily a top tier list in the right hands.
Yeah.
I can't remember if we'd put pikes on the front rank, but that's the only thing I'd make sure that you've got in there.
Okay.
Everything else is pretty solid.
There you go. I think we talked about it after the podcast the other week as well. Bjorn has sent in a list called It's Magic. He has the Witch King, 3, 14, 3, horse, crown, and a Morgul Blade, I think. Shadow Lord, 2, 14, 2 on a horse. The Dark Marshal, 2, 14, 2 on a horse. He has 24 Morannon Orcs with shield, 12 Morannon Orcs with shield and spear, and 7 Orc trackers. 750 points, 46 models, and it came 8th in a big German tournament somewhat recently, I guess.
So what's he asking me for advice for then?
Maybe tweaks. Eighth to first is a big jump if you're playing on top tables. So
very true. I've just got the post up. What was his name again? Sorry, Bjorn Koenig.
Bjorn Konix.
Sure. Yeah, I remember looking at this one. The one thing I was thinking is, why does he have
3 casters?
Three casters is fine.
Okay.
I was wondering why he's got more shields than spears. He's got 12 redundant Morannons.
I guess it's similar to maybe what Ali does in that he'll have the middle part of his battle line is 12 and 12 behind, and then he's got 12 to wrap. Maybe.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, it's solid. The Dark Marshal gives a massive banner to it all. The Shadow Lord stops you getting shot, and the Witch King blows stuff up. 7 trackers keep you in the shooting game. Especially with the Pall of Darkness, it means that you're punking people with seven orcs until they decide they have to fight you, which is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Whether you'd need 3 named wraiths is up for debate, but also what in that sort of build, what would you put in there instead? That would improve the list. I don't really know what there is, to be fair. Gothmog could help quite a lot, but would Gothmog be better than any of the wraiths that are there?
I think
maybe he's better than the Dark Marshal.
It lacks. The Marannans are okay at killing stuff because they're all strength 4, but just lacks a killy. I mean, the Witch King is killy to an extent, but he's the general as well, and he's the only one with, as you said in the previous, he's the only one with strike. I don't think there's March again. I don't know. I don't think I would consider using it, but then maybe I'm not a good enough player with 3 wraiths, and there's a lot of Marannans, I suppose. 36 Marannans is tough.
Yeah, it's another sort of thing though, where the competitive mindset in me goes, well, if I played that at 750 with my Hunter Orc list, he's got 360 points of wasted magic because there's nothing worth casting on. And at that point, it's Hunter Orcs versus Marannans, which is an absolute bloodbath, one way or the other.
Yeah, if you lose a fight, you're probably dead. So
yeah, exactly. So who knows how that would work out?
I guess you'd have a lot more Hunter Orcs than Marannans, though.
Yeah, I'd be near 60 models, I think, at 750.
Yeah. Mad.
But yeah, I mean, I'd maybe getting Gothmog in there, but I don't know if he's better than anything that's currently in there. So I'm not sure what I'd improve about that.
Fair enough. Cameron Bell, who has put this in because he won our event with it the other week. Probably the last event we're going to have for a little while, unfortunately.
So he's flexing, is what you're saying?
I believe so. Put a little winky kissy face at the end. So it's the Spider Queen, 9 giant spiders, 1 Mirkwood spider, and 1 bat spawn. 350 points.
Yeah, solid. 350 points. What realistically is standing up to a Spider Queen? Nothing.
Well, he won the event, so not a lot.
Exactly. And I mean, my only thing, as I kind of said earlier, is probably a few more Mirkwood spiders, just because I know what they can do. But yeah, I mean, I don't know what he wants me to tell him other than well done for winning the event, mate.
Yeah, fair. I think, again, it's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment.
Oh, of course. I know Cameron reasonably well. Is a good
right.
lad.
Fair enough. Tom Minard has asked another question. It's actually a question. Given that there are some armies focused heavily on shooting, Athenian Rangers being one, should we all be trying to get Blinding Light into our list to be competitive, or will mobility and marches to close the gap quickly do well enough? Sorry.
We just need to ban the Rangers of Athenian list because it's garbage and I hate it.
The fact that it's not fun to play against. Or
no, it's awful. Absolutely awful.
I used it the other week at 350, but not optimized before you all yell at me in the comments. I had half Rangers and half Warriors and Minas Tirith just because I didn't want to use 24 Rangers because it's boring. From a competitive standpoint, I probably should have used the 24 Rangers because it would have been better, but it wasn't fun. Even having 14 bows, it wasn't very fun to use. It's very one-dimensional.
It's just, yeah. I understand the logic in making it as a list, like from a game design point of view, because, they were in the films. But
even in the films, though, Faramir's Athenian army didn't just consist of Rangers.
No, of course not.
He had normal warriors in the the hideout bits, and when they went back to Osgiliath, he still had normal warriors. So
yeah, I hate it, mate. I think that it's far be it from me to sit on the fence. It's one of those armies that just breeds a really negative game experience.
Oh, definitely.
People have always whinged a lot about Iron Hill's ballistas, and to an extent they're correct, but like an Iron Hill's ballista can miss, or there can be scenarios where it's not very effective. There's not many scenarios where having up to like 40 bows is not effective.
As well, hasn't it?
Like if you play against a Rivendell Knight list,
you can feel hopelessly outmatched, but there's always a chance. There's always a chance that when you catch them, like you'll be able to do them over. But when there's 40 models waiting for you, it's just horrendous.
Especially if they've all got spears.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think it's a very fun list at all.
No.
But people want to win events, and so why wouldn't you take the best list possible? You can't criticise people for taking a legitimate
No.
list, but
Sorry. Yeah, go on, sorry.
God damn, it sucks to play against.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, I used it not even in optimized, and it was boring. So
Yeah,
if you really want to win a 350 point up to maybe 500 points, when the new minor heroes get added, it's probably really good, but it's not. You won't have fun.
No.
Just deleting models, not really having to actually think about what you do. It's not fun. So
is winning more important than fun? That's the question. But to answer his question, it depends entirely on what your army is. So against the Rangers of Ithilien specifically, if you are defense 5 or higher, marches will do you fine.
yeah,
Because they've got a buttload of shots, but they're winning you on 6s, which means that they're going to hurt you. But if you've got a reasonable model count, you'll get there. If you are playing against like Rivendell Knights or strength 3 shooting meta, you need defense 6, and the same principle is the same. But generally speaking, if you're evil, it can never hurt to put the Shadow Lord in. If you're good, you're a little bit more restricted, but between Gandalf and Galadriel, you can get Blinding Light into quite a few places.
Caradan.
And Caradan as well, yeah, sorry. I don't think you need to... I don't think you have to put Blinding Light into an army. But it depends on the points value as well. I think the risk factor of coming against Rivendell and the Rangers of Ithilien is much higher at low points.
Well,
So at that point, slipping a Caradan in is probably not a bad shout.
I played at 500 points at the start of the year for our league opener. I played Rangers with my Umbarian Serpent Horde. So I had Dalamir, Suladan, they're two of my heroes, and then they had full warbands basically. And because I had, I think it was 6 or 8 Arbalesters, I can't remember specifically, the Rangers were more scared of my shooting than I was of theirs, which is absurd because if he shot my front rank of stuff, he's probably going to kill everything. But again, if you just have something that can shoot the Rangers back, they do die pretty easily. So
yeah, absolutely. Arbalesters are good against them.
Because I wound them on 4s and he wounds them back on 6s. So
for sure.
Yeah, that was my. When he moved back, I moved fully forward to a point where he couldn't move, where I couldn't shoot him. So yeah, you just have to kind of get in, just be aggressive when you play a calculated aggression. You don't want to just chuck models in and just get absolutely peppered. But if you can take an opportunity where he maybe moves back a little bit and then you can move fully forward with a march or something, yeah, maybe. Ian Robert has asked, it's 800 points. It's Glorfindel with Aswaloth and Armour of Gondolin, with 3 Rivendell Knights with shield. Círdan, 4 High Elf Warriors with shield and spear, 1 High Elf Warrior with banner. Arvedui with 8 Warriors of Arnor. Malbeth with 4 Warriors of Arnor, 4 Rangers of Arnor, and 1 Ranger of Arnor with a spear. And then he has a Captain of Arnor with shield, 4 Warriors of Arnor, and 4 Rangers of Arnor. It's 800 points, it's 38 models, it has 12 bows and 10 might.
Yeah, really cool list. I've taken very similar, I think it was 650, so if you remove the Glorfindel warband, that's kind of what I took. Personally, I'm a big fan of taking the Hobbit archers over the Rangers.
Okay.
As it just squeezes a little bit more into your model count. I'd say a little bit more, quite significantly more.
Yeah, he could maximise a few more warbands, yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty good. I mean, the list itself is great. I love it. Glorfindel is really resilient. I don't know whether he'd make him or Arvedui the general, but I mean, both are fine. Círdan can put Enchanted Blades on Glorfindel, which fixes the killie problem. It's a pretty solid list. There's a good bit of might there. You got the march. Yeah,
Yeah.
generally pretty good, mate.
There you go. I'll try and whiz through a few more of these because there's still quite a lot to go. 500 points of Gondor / Fellowship. Denethor's dream or Boromir comes home and brings hobbits. Unfortunately, the mounted Boromir looks dumpy and the foot Fellowship Boromir is iconic, hence the Walker Boromir. There you go. So it's Warband 1 is Denethor with 5 Citadel Guard with Spear, 6 Citadel Guard with Bow, 1 Warrior Minas Tirith with Spear and Banner, and 2 Knights of Minas Tirith with Shield. Warband 2 is Iollas, 4 Warriors of Minas Tirith with Shield, 6 Warriors of Minas Tirith with Shield and Spear, 2 Knights of Minas Tirith with Shield, and then Warband 3 is Boromir of Gondor with a Shield and Merry and Pippin.
Yeah, so this is breaking one of the parameters of competitive. Assuming you want to win over a theme, the theme's cool. I really like it, but yeah, you'd be mounting Boromir. You'd be putting Guard of the Fountain Court in over Citadel Guard. Simple.
There you go.
But yeah, it's a cool list.
Yeah, it's cool. It's got 4 Knights of Minas Tirith, which I actually think is quite good. So
absolutely.
700 points. This list I saw and I actually thought I quite liked it. 700 points of Isengard, and he's a long time disliker of the crossbow inflexibility. Obviously, if you've not played this game before, you can't move and shoot crossbows. But so he has Saruman as his army leader. 6 Uruk-hai warriors with shield, 5 Uruk-hai warriors with pike, 1 Uruk-hai warrior with pike and banner, and then independently he has Grima Wormtongue slipped in there. Thryden Wolfsbane on a horse, 2 Dunlending warriors with shield, 2 Uruk-hai warriors with pikes, 5 Uruk-hai scouts with Uruk-hai bows. He then has Mahur with 6 Uruk-hai marauders with shield, and 6 Uruk-hai scouts with Uruk-hai bows. So it's 37 models. Uruk-hai bows hitting on a 4 and a magic caster. Obviously, he has 6 defense 6+ models, 1 mounted model, and 7 fast infantry and 8 might points.
Yeah, I think that all of the theory is there. To dislike crossbows is reasonable, but I think crossbows are almost always worth it. That being said, now that Uruk-hai can take strength 3 bows, you can kind of get around it a little bit more. I'd get some Warg Riders in there because it's like I said, it's the 1 mounted model. But you need Thryden to be doing stuff. Malher, I'd make all of his warband have the Uruk-hai bows and make all of the marauders. So you can move 4 inches a turn, still shoot.
Yeah.
And I'd get Saruman on a horse. I'm not sure why he's not. There's never a reason not to mount your wizard.
Right,
but yeah, the theory's there. I like it. There's a lot to work with.
Okay, so maybe put in a couple of Uruk-hai in with Warg Riders in, and the bows marauders, and then Saruman a horse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Actually, we've nearly finished. CJ has asked, always wanted to try out a Goblin Town and an Army of Lake Town as an alternative to my usual Moria and Survivors. That's his 2 lists he's kind of famed for locally. But the Courage 2 and no way of having a Warhorn or Fury, assuming a green list, puts me off when so much stuff causes terror. He said, you've had success with Hunter Orcs. Could I ask for tips? So you've already kind of covered that earlier, but...
Yeah, I'll just sort of gloss over it all again. So we've talked about Goblin Town. You're just swarming, having a great time, and letting the Goblin King and Gollum do the shenanigans. For a pure Lake Town list, it works very similar to the Survivors, but you're leaning more into Braga, giving him all the might points from Alfred, and letting him sort of do what he needs to do. But, the list still works. With regards to terror, both of those armies lose the option of ploughing your heroes in and letting them do the stuff, with exception to the Goblin King, but he's only Courage 3 as well. The problem is, with both of those, there isn't really a way around the terror. But your saving grace is you've got so many models that sort of weight of attempts might pull you through.
Yeah.
Or you sort of move aggressively in a way where they get to pick the charges, but it's on your terms. You're sort of putting them in a position where you can't be ignored, as it were. It's different with the Hunter Orcs list, unfortunately, because you've got the heroes that you can throw under the bus, but you've also got the Warhorn, which negates a lot of the issues. So it's hard for me to sort of use them as a comparison for the two that you'd like to use, unfortunately.
Okay. I think that's it, actually.
I think that's the lot. We've made it.
What I haven't done, what I wanted to do, but I could message you later and ask you anyway, was I've got a 550 point event in June, hopefully, if we're allowed out the house at that point. I'll send you my list later and you can tell me I'm a bad man or just Josh, you're an idiot. But yeah, that's it, guys. That was 63. Well, there's a few comments we skipped because they were people commenting on other comments. Yeah, but I think Will's done very well there. A little bit shorter than I expected, actually. We're on like an hour and a half, but still, we've gone through all the lists. If you'd like to ask some further questions on what Will said, please put them in the comments section, and I'll let him know in case he doesn't listen to himself back, because I hate doing that. But he can answer the comments. I'll let him know there's a few questions for him in the comments section. If you find that helpful at all, please leave a like, guys. We're trying to get as many podcasts out at the moment as we can. I think CJ and James are recording a Dwarf Lore episode to go with Ali's Dwarf Tactica episode that went up yesterday. We'll plug it again. So I don't know when you're hearing this, but there's a Dwarf Tactica and Lore episode probably out at this point, because this will probably come out either next week or the week after now. But I just want to say a massive thank you to Will for coming on and sharing some of his knowledge of meta list building to a degree, and offering a tactical and competitive insight into some of your lists. And thank you everyone who actually submitted a list for Will to review.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And
thanks everyone for getting amongst it. It's always nice to listen to other people's mindsets and their sort of list building ideas and theories. So it's always good fun.
Definitely. All right, guys. Well, as always, please comment, like, share, and subscribe. I think we're doing quite well on the subscriber count at the moment. It's kind of going up weekly because we are putting a podcast out every week. I'm hoping with the two sort of more well-known players that we've had on recently, again, a few more of you might jump in and listen. And if you are a new listener, there's quite a few episodes to go back and listen. I think we've recorded over 30 episodes now. So yeah, make sure you go back and check out the catalogue. Thank you all again, and I'll speak to you soon.